When we look at ourselves in the mirror, what we see is our reflection, our double. That image looks just like us, but at the same time, it does not. Our double represents the negative, what we are not always able to include in our personality. Analyzed by psychologists, doctors, men of letters, and artists, the theme of the double has been and still is studied in every aspect. Carl Gustav Jung, the father of analytical psychology, juxtaposes the double and the concept of the shadow, synonym of the evil that is a part of us by nature, claiming that it has to coexist with light so that man could be at peace. Another psychologist who studied the double is Otto Rank, that, in its homonymous piece of work, portrays it as a threat that tries to replace the individual, driving him to insanity. The protagonist kills his double and consequently kills himself. Dorian Gray, the protagonist of The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde, suffers the same fate. To maintain eternal youth, he condemns his portrait to age in his place. Dorian, who later identifies the disfigured and grim looks of his double with the state of his now doomed soul, he kills it and also kills himself. Another scientific piece of work which analyzes the double is The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by Robert Stevenson, where the doctor represents goodness while his alter ego, Hyde, embodies evil and acts like Jekyll would never dare to act. With this work, Stevenson highlights the natural duality of the individual, which is manifested through the splitting of human consciousness. In Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, the double is instead identified with the bond that ties the scientist together with his creature. William Shakespeare's play Richard III focuses on the character of the monarch himself, as he is torn between his view of life and the strict rules of the role of a king. Richard III will take revenge against a world that refuses to accept him. If we analyze the double through a medical point of view, we have to link it to bipolar disorder and borderline personality disorder. Bipolar disorder is a mental health condition that causes serious mood shifts and hinders the person's attitude towards life, while borderline personality disorder is a mental disorder, and people who suffer from it are convinced that they have always been depressed. Their behavior can be dangerous, and it often involves self-harm. The double also influences practical fields such as politics. As far as the EU's foreign policy goes, the term double hat gives foreign policy management to one personality only. Simon Natal, an expert and researcher in foreign policy, states that a single legal personality does not exempt the EU from the responsibility regarding foreign policy. In order to better approach this matter, a kind of mixed mechanism that is reflected in the relationships between the Commission, the Council, and the European Council should be undertaken. Brian De Palma is one of the most important movie directors who analyzed the theme of the double in his movies. The characters in his movies seem to move in an almost imaginary setting, as they are constantly being chased by an ever-present shadow, the double. De Palma considers the double as an independent identity of the self that is, however, linked to it through resemblance, a literary motif present in Dostoevsky's work The Double and analyzed by De Palma in his movie Body Double. He also considers it as a result of inner spiritual separation caused by something the individual rejects, also a literary motif present in the aforementioned work The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. This literary device is also reanalyzed by De Palma in his movies Dressed to Kill and Raising Cain. There are many other movies that analyze the theme of the double, such as Enemy by Denis Villeneuve. In the movie, which is based on José Saramago's work The Double becomes an exact replica of the protagonist, Adam Bell, a man who lived a monotonous life. After an accident, Adam's mind generates the double, triggering a dissociative disorder of the mind that leads him to a frantic research of a now forgotten version of himself. Adam Bell fights against his double, but the real winner of this psychological fight is the spider, animal symbol of the control women have over men. Let's look at the double by Saramago and the double by Dostoevsky to have a clearer understanding of the theme of the double in literature. In the double by Saramago, the double becomes a person and fights against the absurd, that sinister invader who lives in each and every one of us. In the double by Dostoevsky, the protagonist Golzhikin is the perfect symbol of the repressed man, and his doubling is caused by factors such as strong inner instability and a repressed desire. Dostoevsky wrote this work with a clear intention. He wanted the reader to empathize with the protagonist, because what happened to Golzhikin can happen to everyone. The double we see when we look in the mirror is a mere physical representation of ourselves, but that image is also something else, something hidden, something evil that has to coexist with the goodness within ourselves. We are the same person. We must not be afraid of ourselves. We cannot. We do not need that fear. Therefore, look at yourself in the mirror. Look into those eyes and say, I am you. You are me.